What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. Today, we've got a redraft of the 2016 draft. That was a really fun draft here. I don't know if you guys remember, it's the Ben Simmons, like Jaylen Brown draft. And so Bleacher Report just put something out being like, hey, if we were to redraft and do it all over with what we do now, what would it look like? So today, we're going to dive into it. Let's go. So like I said, we're back here on Bleacher Report because, Bleacher Report. That's what we do on this channel. It's what we do. But anyway, I'm looking forward to this because the 2016 draft I was in high school at this time. I'm getting ready to start thinking about like college, all that stuff. And I couldn't have been a bigger NBA fan at that time. I loved where things were at, and Ben Simmons was coming to the NBA. One of the most surefire things was going to be a stud. And in all fairness, dude was there for a minute. Dude was everything. I remember Jaylen Brown. I was huge on him coming out of California. Was this Brandon Ingram? Yeah, it was Brandon Ingram as well, who was somebody that was being compared to the likes of like Kevin Durant at the time, which I don't think any of us actually really believed that, but we were like, no, this is a really interesting prospect. So just right off the top, there's some really good basketball talent here. And so we're going to do a redraft knowing what we know now. And it's kind of interesting to see where people end up by the end of this. I believe it's just the first round being done in this article, but without further ado, let's do it. So in this universe, instead, the Philadelphia 76ers, whom, mind you, right, like they had a couple opportunities to have like number one picks around this time between Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons. They end up taking those two instead of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, so how things could have been different. But knowing what we know now, Jaylen Brown, obviously the pick. A multi-time all-star, a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Like, yes, the shooting numbers are a little bit down this year. I really don't care. It's not a big deal. I remember Jaylen Brown coming out of college, and I was like, wow, this guy is a supreme athlete. Like, this guy can get up and down the court, strong, like, looks like he's going to fill out really well. Exciting dude, really exciting dude. And obviously, since becoming an NBA champion, not surprised to see him at the top of this list. Jaylen Brown is a phenomenal basketball talent. I don't really need to talk much more about that. NBA Finals MVP under his belt as well. That's true. He doesn't receive the same reflexive stardom recognition compared to a lot of his peers. That's true. It's kind of the I guess a Scottie Pippen effect, right? Because Jason Tatum's on the team, he's never going to get as much love. But if you're a Celtics fan or just a ball fan, you know how awesome he is. Brown has ranked in the 89th percentile or better for self-created shot-making efficiency. Wow. That's amazing. That is really, really good. Good for him. In each of the last 4 seasons, man, he's making things happen. Number 2, the Lakers take Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, another guy that's won a championship already. He obviously won it when he was a lot younger, playing with Kawhi and them boys out in Toronto in that one fun season. But second overall should come down to Sabonis or Siakam. Oh, wow. Sabonis is here, too. Okay, yeah, Sabonis took a little bit longer to get going, like, in his career. We saw Siakam pretty early on. We were like, okay, this guy's got some moves to him. Looks like he can do a little bit of everything on the basketball court, so I can kind of see that. The Lakers would end up taking him at this time. Sabonis is the better overall passer, more efficient scorer, now incorporates threes into his diet, but Siakam, yeah, no, he obviously does a little bit of everything, and knowing what we know about his career, he does kind of just get going a little bit earlier, so that's interesting. That's really cool to see. Siakam kind of getting that recognition. So now the Celtics would have been taking Domas Sabonis. He was originally the 11th pick. Where was he was the 27th pick at that time. Wow, how things change, right? Like this is something to remember as we get ready for draft stuff. You guys would have just seen at the time of recording this, I literally just got done recording a Derek Queen video, which I hope you guys go and watch, talking about him and his skill set, because we talk about him in comparison to like a Sabonis type player, and it's interesting to see when guys fall this low in the draft. It doesn't mean that things can't get figured out. If you end up in the right situations, things can work out. Just because you're picked high as well doesn't mean things always work out. So Sabonis was originally the 11th pick. He was a Thunder pick, if I'm correct, right? He was the Thunder because he then got moved to Indiana, right? I believe that's what happened. Obviously Sabonis, one of the biggest like all-star snubs that I've seen in some time. I absolutely love Sabonis's game. I know people kind of like rake on him a bit for his defense, but his defensive numbers are really, really good. He just doesn't block a ton of shots. That's just not really what he does, but defensively a very, very good basketball player. Offensively, obviously does everything. He's the league leader in rebounds as well. he's like the central point to one of my favorite offenses in the NBA as well, which was the Sabonis hub, and they've kind of started to move away from it a little bit because they've got a weird roster around him now in Sacramento. But Sabonis is one of those guys that just feels like he keeps building onto his game every single season. So it's been an absolute pleasure to watch his game evolve. Who do we got next? Jamal Murray coming in at number 7. Bleacher Report still has not figured out what they're doing with their pictures, man. Ever since the Bleacher Report update, it's been just strange. I remember being really high on Jamal Murray coming out of Kentucky. I was like, I don't know if this guy's a true point guard or not. And look, young AVC didn't know as much as he knew, after like getting into real coaching and everything and all that. But, I had some good instincts about me, and at least in my opinion. But I was like, this guy has all the skill sets you'd want in the NBA. It's just, what position is he going to play? Is he going to be good enough to actually be like a true NBA point guard? And he's still kind of more of like a combo guard playing point guard, but we've seen the playmaking get so much better with him and just his own creation skills. Obviously, he's won a championship already. Jamal Murray's an amazing player. He's on an incredible run right now. Dude's feeling himself. Hopefully he's finally feeling healthy. That's really the only thing that's like ever really stopped him in his career so far. His bandwidth for bucket getting may officially be underappreciated. Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with that. Murray has rated no lower than 88th percentile in self-created shot making efficiency through each of the last 4 years. So just over the past 5 years, Jalen Brunson, Steph Curry, KD, and Kyrie Irving are the only other players averaging at least 20 points and 5 assists while downing 40% or more of their triples. Wow. So that's the category you find Jamal Murray in, man. Never quite all-star good, but man, he's going to be one that we remember for forever. The original pick here was Dragon Bender. Y'all remember Dragon Bender? If you don't, probably coolest name ever. But I don't think, did I even spell his name right? Is it actually Dragon Bender? There he is. Where is he nowadays? Dragon Bender. I don't know exactly where he is now, but this is good old Dragon, man. I remember watching his film, and this is fresh off of Porzingis, I believe, right? So people were like, oh, Dragon Bender, yeah, Porzingis. And I was like, I don't necessarily think so. He was not quite good when he got to the NBA. Not quite good is what I would say. Number 5, the Timberwolves would have picked Brandon Ingram. Who did they pick here? They picked Chris Dunn. That's right. 1 year of Chris Dunn, and then he got shipped out to the Bulls. Chris Dunn was looked at as like not going to be much offensively, good defensive point guard, but should be a starting point guard one day. Didn't quite turn into that, but defensively, man, he's still it. He's one of the best defensive players we have in basketball right now, potentially the best if you ask certain people. And you hit a decent enough at 3-pointers nowadays. I mean, he's got himself an NBA contract. I think Clippers fans sure love him. But Brandon Ingram, falling a little bit from where he was, still an amazing basketball player. Like, already these top couple guys, like, this is a great draft class already, right? We've got all these kind of like borderline all-star guys, like Jaylen Brown, kind of like always an all-star, borderline all-star, borderline all-star, borderline all-star, borderline all-star. Like, that's a pretty elite category to be in and of itself, right? Guys that you're always like, ooh, will they take up like one of the last 2 spots from the main guys? Potentially, right? We know the struggles of Brandon Ingram staying healthy. He's now in Toronto. Where are things going to go now, right? But there's just not many guys that can do what Brandon Ingram does, and I say that as someone that, like, yes, he's got some flaws in his game, and sometimes the decision-making is a little bit poor, but like, there just isn't a ton of guys that can do what he does in terms of the creativity, the size, the shot-making ability. He can see the floor pretty well. I like Brandon Ingram a lot, so I'm very, very curious to see what Toronto's plans are with him. But him falling a little bit here, it's not really a knock on him, man. He's become a really good basketball player. The Pelicans, Fred VanVleet. He was originally undrafted. That's correct. Buddy Hield was the original pick here, who was then traded midway through his rookie season, I believe, for DeMarcus Cousins that year, right? So Buddy Hield at the time, like, absolutely electric college basketball player. Y'all got to go back and watch his college basketball clips if you haven't already. He's still doing exactly what he does. Catch, shoot, 3-pointers. That's what Buddy Hield does, still does that to this day. But Fred VanVleet going from undrafted all the way up to 6 is pretty dang incredible, right? Obviously, won a finals with Toronto in more of a bench type role, has turned into a really good leader, starting point guard in the NBA. Not going to make as much money going forward, probably because of the efficiency, and it's just nobody's going to pay him $50 million, but the Rockets got what they needed out of him, which was leadership for the young guys. But no, this guy does a little bit of everything, and man, he he was, because he was out of Wichita State, right? I believe he's a Shocker. That's where he came from. But yeah, no, he's one of the better stories of that Toronto Raptors time where they were really developing a lot of talent kind of under the table, if you would. So shout out Fred VanVleet, man. That's awesome. Ben Simmons still goes at 7. I was curious to see where they go. So this is where Jamal Murray originally went. Again, Ben Simmons was looked at as like, this dude's the answer, right? He's just has it down already. He's big, strong, pass, stupid athletic, defensive juggernaut, right? And coming into the NBA, obviously he missed his first season due to injury. The Sixers were basically redshirting everybody at that time in the process, but Ben Simmons was it, man. He was it from day one. Like, he was, and I know the 3-point shot wasn't there. Any of you guys that think that Ben Simmons wasn't the lead is just dumb, because he was basically a stronger Amen Thompson, right? And Amen Thompson is a phenomenal player, even though he doesn't shoot well, because he's always the right place on the court. Yes, I remember the shot in the playoffs that he didn't take. I totally understand how it happened, honestly. I promise you, I know exactly what happened there. But it's just unfortunate what's happening, man, and the injuries and the confidence and all of that. But man, for a couple of years there, he was good. So I guess knowing what we know now, we'd still take a couple good years of Ben Simmons at that time, and maybe somebody, a better medical staff or something, one that didn't like ruin Markelle Fultz or never quite figured out how to get Joel Embiid healthy, right? Maybe go somewhere else and maybe things go differently, right? It's hard. Placing Ben Simmons verges on impossible. When healthy, he can still make things happen as a passer and defender, both on and away from the ball, but his peak is most likely behind him. He's 28 now. Wow. It isn't just that he made 2 all-defensive squads and all-NBA. Like, dude was all-NBA that early on. He was at one point talked about as a potential top 10 star. I don't disagree with that, man. He was special. He was really, really special. Dejounte Murray, yeah, he was end of the first round right here. The original pick was Marquise Chris to the Kings. I remember Marquise Chris. Did he stay on the Kings past his first year? I don't even remember exactly. But Marquise Chris, we were like, okay, this was during the time where a lot of these like weird power forwards were coming in, where they're like a little bit athletic and they're like, maybe they could shoot, and we were kind of still phasing the power forward spot out of the NBA, and we were going to more so nowadays we play like 2 small forwards. It feels like it's just kind of like wing, that's what you do, right? And so Marquise Chris was like, he was really bouncy. People tried to play him at center a little bit. He wasn't strong enough or good enough defensively to do that, couldn't quite shoot, so kind of a thing there. But Dejounte Murray himself, he was one of those guys that the Spurs were taking at the end of the first round between him and Derek White, and just turned him into something. Like, they disappear from the league for a little bit, and all of a sudden they come out. Really good basketball player. Dejounte Murray nowadays, obviously coming back for he's hurt again, which is unfortunate. We're not going to get to see him the rest of this season because of a torn Achilles. He's had a couple substantial injuries like that, so we hope that he comes back still like the defensive playmaking, shot creating type guard again. But I don't know, man. Pelicans got to figure out some injury stuff. But Dejounte Murray, obviously really, really nice basketball player. It's a shame he got sent to Atlanta and they tried to do that really wacky thing with those two. The Toronto Raptors, Ivica Zubac here. Awesome. Originally the 32nd pick by the Lakers, if I remember correctly. Originally they took Jakob Poeltl here, who worked out well for them, right? Again, another great development story for the Toronto Raptors. They really turned him into something. But yeah, Zubac, for where he is right now, one of the most underrated players in basketball. Just scoring, rebounding, defending. Dude's doing a bit of everything. I remember when the Lakers traded him originally, I went, oh no, you just got to wait for this dude. Like, he's going to be a starting quality center. I never thought he'd get this good to where he's at nowadays, but no, like, I remember being really bummed by them. Like, the Lakers just can't wait for anything because, that's just the stage they were in at that point. But I was like, I really like Zubac. I think he's going to become something at some point. And so, hey, the Clippers made the most of him. He didn't even have to get a new apartment or anything, and things worked out. High impact screener, finisher, rebounder. Yeah, it does sell him short though. Like the offensive touch, the moves, extend past the restricted area. He's floor running, play finishing, and transition. Yeah, Zubac is awesome, man. For how big he is, it is amazing what he can do. The Milwaukee Bucks, Malcolm Brogdon. Oh yeah, that's right. Brogdon, he was the rookie of the year in this class. Again, Ben Simmons was hurt his whole first season. He was the 36th pick, and he came in out of Virginia, I believe, and he was like, hey, right away, just super competent, like just doesn't mess things up type of dude. Originally, this was Thon Maker. Wow, y'all remember Thon Maker? He was he was something. Thonmaker was something else. Never quite worked out, and I'm not sure any of those types of guys necessarily ever work out. These really long, skinny dudes that are like, I don't know, they're kind of just out there just being long and skinny, right? They don't really have the skill like a Wemby has, right? It doesn't quite work out, or like a Chet, like they've got a little more skill to them, so I don't know. But yeah, Brogdon moving up here, still an amazing like pro player. Doesn't feel like he's ever really gotten better since he got in the league, but he was really good right away. So just been really solid and consistent throughout his career. So shout out Malcolm Brogdon, man. Where did they end up trading him to? What did they do with him? I don't remember like what his career trajectory necessarily was. From 2018-19 through last season, Brogdon averaged 17 points, 5 assists while drilling 39% of his 3 balls. That's pretty crazy. I feel like because he's been on some not so good teams recently, we've forgotten how good Brogdon is, but man, he was supposed to be a big piece for the Celtics at one point. Y'all forget about that. The Magic taking Buddy Hield. I'm sure they wish they had Buddy Hield right about now. They need anybody that can shoot a basketball. This was originally Sabonis. Was this a Magic selection and then they moved him to the Thunder? Is that what happened? Interesting. So Buddy Hield originally top 6 pick, or I should just say the 6th pick. Never quite became the scoring threat he was supposed to. He struggled to kind of keep solid rotational minutes, and that's probably because of the defensive end of the court, he's not anything all that fair. I wish teams would just realize that when you get guys like this, these are guys that you need to give consistent shots to. You need to be running plays for them and stuff. Let them get hot because, yeah, then the dead-eye shooting becomes a really valuable asset to you. And I'm not even saying you have to start him. When he come in, just spam some plays for him, like create the gravity. Eventually people are going to get sick of him running around screens, and he's going to make a couple, and it's going to open up some other things for your offense. So I don't know, I just wish people could kind of figure that out a little bit more. But I don't know, coaches don't always know what to do with microwave players because they see guys miss a shot and they go, oh my gosh, what do? I need to make an adjustment. Just shut the fuck up, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Dorian Finney-Smith, he was originally undrafted. It was the Mavericks that really developed him, right? I'm pretty sure it was the Mavericks that were the ones that developed him. Originally, this was Taurean Prince, who, in all fairness, has developed into a nice basketball player. I'm sure we'll see Taurean Prince very soon on here, but Dodo is the definition of 3-and-D, right? That's what he does. Defense, floor spacing. That's what he does, and he does it at a really high level, being 6'7" or whatever he is. Been on a lot of contending teams, playing big roles, so I don't know. I'll be curious to see like what he does now that he's with Luka in LA when they kind of can reshape the roster again in the off season. Curious to see what JJ Redick ends up doing with him because he's been kind of hot and cold with things so far. So we'll see. Karis LeVert being down here is kind of interesting. Would I put Karis LeVert above Buddy Hield and Dorian Finney-Smith? I might, because for the role that he plays, like Karis LeVert, where was he drafted originally? He was the 20th pick. He was a Nets pick, I believe. This was Georgios Papagiannis. Oh my God, what did Papagiannis ever do in the NBA? I don't remember like much at all of this dude. Can I get some stats for this guy? So really he only played for 2 years in the NBA, 2016-17 with Sacramento. Okay, fair enough. And then he got moved to Portland. Yeah, he did not work. He did not work out at all. Sorry, Papagiannis. That's just him and Dragon Bender. This was at the time where we still didn't trust foreign players very well either, and guys like this were not helping. But like obviously Karis LeVert, if you look at him this year, like yes, he's more valuable than a Dorian Finney-Smith, a Buddy Hield, potentially a Malcolm Brogdon even. Like his scoring ability and his defense has gotten better. Sorry, there was an ambulance going by, but like obviously his offensive game has become extremely efficient this year while he was under Kenny. We'll see what happens as he remains in Atlanta and they run a little bit weirder system compared to everyone else. But just being a ball handler, creator off the bench, he's been very, very good at that his entire career, even though the efficiency hasn't always quite been there. It's like I look at like Dorian Finney-Smith is like the model of consistency for things, but Buddy Hield hasn't been like the greatest ever, I would say. So I don't know. I might put Karis LeVert above those guys, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think with that. The Chicago Bulls, Jakob Poeltl. Who do we take? Oh no, Valentine.
No. Oh my goodness, Valentine. No, oh no. That is not the shot at that moment.
Oh, Denzel, I really thought you were going to be something after Summer League, man. I really thought so, but it didn't end up working out. Jakob Poeltl, offensively, quality, right? Quality is what I would say. He's got high IQ. He always knows where to be on the court. no complaints about him ever. Extremely good defensively. Like, he makes the Raptors competitive like every night. And I feel like he's a really underrated guy on this list. Honestly, like, I'm putting him above Karis LeVert, Dorian Finney-Smith, Buddy Hield, probably not Brogdon, and just below Zubac. So I'm probably moving him up this list just because I feel like he's a little underappreciated in the NBA. Putting him any higher, nevertheless, feels like a slight reach. His effectiveness as a rim proctor has slipped over the past 3 years or so. But look, the rest of the team also hasn't been as good, right? So that makes it a little bit harder, right? They're putting more weight on him. The free throw shooting will also continue to force teams into tough situations down the stretch. That's a really good point. That is something that has been a struggle with him for a long time. Dude, look at the claw marks he's got on him. Dude's always fighting down there. To be sure, this isn't meant as a total takedown. Pirtle's offensive connectivity in particular is invaluable within systems that call for off-ball movement and a lack. Yeah, I would agree with that. Alex Caruso coming in at 15. This feels appropriate. I would say this was originally Juan Hernan Gomez. Yes, and Caruso was undrafted. I don't remember him being undrafted. I thought he was a late second round pick, but hey, fair enough. Even more credit to him, right? Obviously, Caruso, we know what he does. Effort, always making the right play, shoots it pretty well, defensive monster, just always makes teams better. Loved having him on the Bulls. I know the Lakers loved having him, winning a championship with them. Maybe he's going to win a championship with the Thunder right now. So, yeah, shout out Alex Caruso, man. He's awesome. Derrick Jones Jr. at 16. This was Yabusele at first for the Celtics, right? That's who ended up having him. Derrick Jones Jr. was originally undrafted. He is one of the Heat's gems, right? One of those dudes that the Miami Heat just kind of locked onto because he was with Phoenix originally, right? Like, that's where he kind of showed up first when they threw him into the dunk contest or whatever. And then the Miami Heat were like, actually, we know what to do with this, because they always do. And they ended up turning him into a nice player. And we saw what he did with Dallas last year, having a nice season with the Clippers again. Yabusele, not surprised to see him dropped. I'm sure he'll still show up on this list because of what he's doing this year, but they weren't quite sure what to do with him when he first got to the NBA. Again, we hadn't quite gotten to the style of play that we see now in the NBA. These are kind of the transition years into more of the like positionless basketball, and so we weren't really sure what to do with Yabu yet. And he obviously got a little more skilled and such, but no, it's no surprise to see that he dropped a little bit just because, you know, he did leave the league for a while to go figure some things out. Malik Beasley, y'all know, one of my favorite players in the NBA. This was Wade Baldwin. Y'all remember Wade Baldwin? This was a Grizzlies pick. Yeah, this was a Grizzlies pick. They didn't put a number here, which is interesting. Who originally, where did he go? He went 19. So moving up a little bit here, Malik Beasley is one of the most deadly just offensive players we have in basketball just because his shooting is ridiculous. Taking like 9-10 threes a game and hitting on a huge clip of them, and he's been doing it for years now. Like, I love Malik Beasley, man. And finally, the Pistons on Sunday night, they finally ran a rotation that made sense, and Beasley played more minutes than the starters, and he had like 26 points or something like that. He's awesome. Just play him more minutes. Just play him more minutes. Things work well. I love Malik Beasley, man. Awesome. There's Taurean Prince. That feels fair. Henry Ellingson. Oh, man, does that take me back. This guy messed me up in high school. Dude messed me up in high school. Long story short, two or three of our centers were hurt one time when we had to go play Henry Ellingson in high school. I had to guard him, and look, I'm a good basketball player, right? Did okay for myself, in my time, but Henry Ellingson messed me up, man. Henry Ellingson messed me up good. I tried. I jumped every time. Didn't work out well for me, but, is what it is. He obviously didn't end up really working out in the NBA. Again, kind of one of those, like, bigs that had a little bit more skill that didn't quite translate to the NBA, so because there wasn't enough athleticism for him defensively. But Taurean Prince drops a little bit. Never quite became, like, the 3-and-D, like, all-star that we were hoping he was going to become because of like his big frame that he was coming in with, but the three-point shot has certainly figured it out. And like defensively, yeah, it's fine. Like someone who should be an elite defender but doesn't play like it, yeah, like it's not great, but it's fine. I'm not tripping about it whatsoever. So Taurean Prince, nice role player in the NBA. These are some good players in this class, man. These are some really quality basketball players. So 2016 class, very nice. Georges Niang. Who was this originally? Oh, this was originally Beasley. He was the 50th pick at the time, coming out of Iowa State, right? I believe that's where he came from. I had a former, buddy of mine that played with him in college. I'm pretty sure. that's where it was. But we all know Georges, what he does. Really tough-minded dude, smart basketball player, not the most mobile, shoots the ball well. Nice role player in the NBA. I believe he had like a 20-point game recently or something. So shout out Niang. Chris Dunn falling down to here is interesting. This was originally LeVert, and obviously he was the 5th pick. All defensive teams of years past will be littered with Chris Dunn cameos if he simply played more. That's the thing, right? Defensively, he's always been, like, phenomenal. The 30-year-old is a force of nature on the less glamorous end. No passing lane is safe with this game. Yep, at only 6'3", he gets it done. Of course, there's a reason all defense remains empty. It has nothing to do with his defense. It's just his playing time is forever capped by his limitations as a shooter, more notably a playmaker. That's fair. The Clippers have found good ways to use him nowadays as they have other ball handlers that they can kind of give the ball to. And offensively, he just kind of has to shoot open threes now, which he's doing a fine enough job with. So, hey, awesome basketball player. Would I put him above any of these guys? I'd put him above Niang, and that's maybe it. But it's close. Gary Payton II. I was huge on Gary Payton Jr. coming in. Like I was more so like, hey, this guy should be a nice role player. This was originally DeAndre Bembry. This guy was a monster in the G League, but never quite found his way into an NBA roster. Apparently just couldn't quite figure out the complexity of the game. Gary Payton was undrafted. I saw him just bounce around the G League for years, and I was like, oh, this dude's actually nice. Like, get him in the league. He's got great energy, stupid athlete, should be able to shoot it a little bit, but what we found is it really only works in Golden State for some reason. He just loves playing in Golden State when other people have the basketball. Never quite was able to play the point guard position like his pops, but nonetheless, nice basketball player. Can't complain about that career at all. There's Yabu, now that we've been able to find it. This was Malachi Richardson at first. Yeah, he never quite figured anything out here. Recency bias is winning out here. I make no apologies. Like, dude's a really nice role player for Philly, man. I hope he gets an even nicer contract after this season. Like, all the Philly fans, just let everybody know how much you love Yabu, or if you don't, tell me why you're a dum-dum. That's gonna be my recommendation for you guys. Hey, this is a reminder, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. Stay tuned to the end of the video where we'll do the comment of the video, so just be on the lookout for that. Yabu's offensive form at times feel unrecognizable. He's sinking over 40% of his threes at nearly 4 a game, getting behind the defense in transition. His handle looks more comfortable. He's awesome. Oh, now we're getting into the people that aren't quite around anymore. So this tells you, like, this is probably a pretty good draft class considering 22 people are still, like, consistently around. We got Daniel House now, kind of a 3-and-D wing that stuck around for a little bit. This was originally Ante Zizic, who didn't really work out. Damian Lee, who's still in the NBA. He's been pretty injured, though. This was Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot. I thought he might be, like, somewhat solid, and that turned out to not exactly be true. So Damian Lee still in the NBA. David Nwaba. Oh, I loved him on the Bulls. He was like a not as good Javonte Green. That's basically what he was. A not quite as athletic Javonte Green. This was Bryce Johnson. Was that the North Carolina guy? Right? Again, kind of that power forward that we weren't quite sure what to do with. So saw that there. Furkan Korkmaz. Is he still in the NBA? I don't actually know. Like, did Korkmaz finally get released? Where is he right now? 23, 24? No. Not in the NBA anymore. He is somewhere else. So he is somewhere probably in Turkey, I'm going to guess. But nonetheless, Korkmaz, Mr. I wanted to be requested a trade like every single year for like 5 seasons, and nobody ever let him do it. So, you know, is what it is. Oh, he was that pick as well. So good for Korkmaz. There's Juan Hernan Gomez. This was originally Pascal Siakam. Some interesting skills. Never quite found a niche, though, in the NBA. Bryn Forbes. Yes, actually a decently talented guy that got in some trouble off the basketball court. Scalabissier, he was the #1 high school player in that class, and then injuries kind of took it away from him, unfortunately, but we'll never know. Damian Jones, he's not on the Clippers, or on the Cavs still. I don't think so. This was originally Dejounte Murray, but decent lob threat big man. Like, if you needed a final big on a team, I wouldn't squint too hard at Damian Jones. Like, it's fine. And then Yogi Ferrell, the Indiana legend. Hey, dude has some really tough games on some 10-day contracts for Dallas back in the day. This was originally Damian Jones. He was undrafted. I thought Yogi Ferrell was going to be actually kind of like solid in the NBA at one point, but the size didn't quite do it. You learned from it, you know, is what it is. Other people to consider here: Marquise Chris, Check Diallo, maybe Shaq Harrison. He's still nice in the G League. Luwawu-Cabarrot, Thon Maker. Interesting, but hey, thanks you guys for kind of taking a trip down memory lane with me. I think this is interesting. This kind of tells you about 22 to like 20 people. That's a pretty good draft class if they're still kind of sticking around this many years later, right? But there's a lot of nice talent in this class. 2016, very underrated. If you guys want me to do another one, go leave me a comment as to another class that we should take a look at. But otherwise, let's go do the comment of the video. All right, y'all, my comment of the video comes from my Dylan Harper, Will He Be Good in the NBA? Basically our film breakdown series. At the time that you guys are watching this, there is one on Derek Queen. You should go watch it. Like, I really want those videos to do well on this channel. But anyway, the comment comes from, I'm gonna butcher this name for sure. How do y'all come up with this shit? Elevandrise? Maybe? He said, when was the last time an NBA player's son was drafted high and didn't pan out? And I actually don't know the answer to it, so I want you guys to go answer it. Maybe go back to this video and respond to the comment there, or leave the comment on this video, because that's a statistic I'm very curious about. But anyway, I appreciate you guys as always for watching. Leave me a comment and maybe you'll end up as the comment to the video, but otherwise we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much.